Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials on any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
Okay, so now we have understood so far master component. Okay, very well. Now we have to focus on the nodes, also known as minions or the Kubernetes worker. And then we'll focus on the workstation also. Okay, I'll talk about the workstation at the end of it. Okay, so first master, then node, then workstation and packages also. Last one is packages, which is very important. Okay, so now minions is a more minions is a more aligned keyword to define the nodes. So you can call it the worker nodes or Kubernetes worker, whatever you the official keyword is a Kubernetes worker, but we call it nodes also, or sometime minion. I mean minions we hardly have seen somewhere, but minions is the right keyword. Guys, one thing which I would like to ask you, uh, have you seen this movie called Minion? Anyone have seen this movie called Minion?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great, wonderful. So guys, can you tell me the story of this Minion movie?
They'll be looking for some villain, like the master, right? Where
Ah,
they wanted some kind of always a master to do something. So
correct, yes. Yeah, so I think yeah, you said that right story. Yeah, so if you have not watched, guys, please go and watch. It's a very good movie, and it's very good for the kids also. Lots of learning things are there. But let me recap this movie. Okay, let me be a movie storyteller or something like that, because this will help you to understand the behavior of worker. Okay, what happens in this movie is movie started with the one scene in which it's depicts like minions is a kind of species. Okay, minions is a kind of species who stays together, but these minions are not happy. Yeah, these minions are not happy. Why these people are not happy? These people are not happy because of only one reason, and that is they do not have a master. Okay, so if they do not have a master, they are feeling sad, lazy, depressed, because this species always need a master. Okay, so because of these minions are very depressed, so some of the minion decide to travel and look for the master. Mind it here, I'm saying minions are deciding to look for the master. Minions, okay, not master is very careless people character in this movie. Okay, so minion decide, let's do one thing, let's go and search for the master, because without the master our species will get disappeared in the in the depression, or in the sadness, with the sadness, not happy. So they travel around the world actually to look for the master, one. So they travel around the world globe. But what happens, sometime they found out the master, and somehow they found the master, they chose the master, and then they can do anything for the master, anything. Do no minds applied, do not use your mind. Whatever master says, I will do that. I will do with the happiness. I'll be feel very happy. I will bug my master like anything. Minions, if they founder the master, they all be ready bugging the master to serve them, saying that, okay, I am available, I am healthy, I am having this much of energies, this much of CPU, this much of RAM, I mean, this much of energy. So to serve the master, they'll be happy to serve the master. But in the movie, there's sometimes what happens, like accidentally they kill the master in order to serve them, not with the intention, in order to serve them, and then again they become a sad. But that's a different thing here altogether. Okay, so ultimately what I'm trying to say here is minion is a kind of species who is nothing without the master. Here minion look for the master, minion decide who should be the master, and once the master is found, then master has to approve it. Remember here, once the master is found, master has to approve, saying that, okay, you are my slave from now, today onwards. You are my minions from today onwards. Remember, here minion request to the master, and master will become a master for the minion only if this approves, when the master approves. So here there is a technical word. Minion decide who should be master, and master should be approving whether you are my minion or not minion. And once this relationship is established of minion and master, then master is careless person here. Minions will keep bugging the master. Give me the work, give me the work, give me the work. I'm healthy, I'm alive. But masters gives the only work to the minions if they have it something to do that. Remember here one thing, master may be biased to assign the work only to his favorite minion. This is called affinity. Or master can say, okay, anyone who's available with this many resources, do that. This is called anti-affinity. So master can be a bias here. And based on this stories goes on. But by the way, in the movies, we have so many other characters, so many other, scenes and different and stuff like that. But guys, did you understand this story? All of you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now let's discuss about the worker, the Kubernetes worker, aka minions. So guys, in the minion, in the worker, we have a three important component. One of the most important component in the worker node, aka minion node, we have Cubelet. And guys, Cubelet is your minion. I repeat, Cubelet is your minion in the each worker node. In the each node of the cluster, there is a one tool which is running all the time, and this is called Cubelet. So what is a Cubelet? It's a main Kubernetes agent. If this agent is not running, that node is not exist for the master. That node is not exist for the cluster. But if just because if it's running, it will not be a part of the cluster. Mind it here. Minion has to request to the master. See, who decide who should be the master? Minion. But minion has to request to the master, and master has to approve it. So yes, Kubelet has to run, and same time register node with the cluster. That means register node with the cluster. That means Kubelet has to request to the master. Master means what? Here, master, what is the master here? Which component he has to request in the master? Tell me. In the
API server.
master,
API
API
server.
server. Guys, always hard code your mind. API server for all internal and external communications. So guys, Kubelet will request API server. Please add me as your slave. Please add me as your worker. Please add me as your minion. But if API server will approve it from the admin perspective, he will approve it. The moment you will approve it, master will give certificate to the minion. This is certificate based authentications. Certificate to the kubelet. Once the kubelet get a certificate, this kubelet is flying like anything. Because the moment kubelet request to the API server, the kubelet request to the master, I want to become your minion. API server approves that, okay, be my minion, get this, take this certificate. And after that, kubelet or minion keep bugging API server, keep bugging the master. That is watches API server. Kubelet keep watching API server without a stop. Without stop. Without stop. So guys, kubelet is your minion. So here, what I'm trying to think in simple way. If you have a 2 node or 2000 node, who will decide who should be a part of the cluster or not? Tell me. Whether master will decide or node will decide. And in the node, who will decide?
Master will decide.
No. Think.
Node will
One
decide.
more. Node will decide.
Kubelet agent will decide. Kubernetes agent.
Right, yeah. Not master will decide. Master never decide who should be a slave. Only slave will decide who should be a master. Very clearly. Please understand this. That's the reason Minion movie I said talked about it. I will decide you are my master or not. This is 21st century. You cannot make a slave until you want to be a slave. Right? So here, the moment kubelet has to request. So this way, guys, see that here. This way, if you have 100 nodes, what do you need? Kubelet. 100 nodes, what do you need? Kubelet. And kubelet should request, run the kubelet, and give the address of the API server to the kubelet. Kubelet request to the API server. API server will approve that. He will get a certificate, and after that, this relationship is established. That is what I'm trying to tell you. The kubelet is the main Kubernetes agent. The moment you run the kubelet, it's registered node with the cluster, and after that relationship is established, keep watches the API server. Okay, same goes with the minion story also. Now, kubelet instantiate a pod. Guys, these keywords are very important. Okay, these keywords are very important. I am stating instantiation of the pod. I'm stating instantiation of the pod. I'm not saying creating a pod. There's a difference here. This instantiation we also do with a class object, right? The more you instantiate a class, you get a more object. How many objects you can get it unlimited. So instantiate pod. See, one thing I am having a question in my mind, what is a pod? I don't know. I don't know what is a pod, but one thing I know for sure is pod is inside a cluster worker, and inside a pod you have a container. Inside a worker you may have a multiple pod, and inside a pod you can have a multiple container. That I know for now, but what is a pod I don't know. But one thing I got to learn here, who instantiate a pod? Kubelet. It's not a creation. So remember here, pod is not a physical thing. Mind it here. Pod is not a physical thing. Okay. Pod is not a physical thing. Pod is a virtual, some sort of virtual thing. What is a pod? We'll discuss in some time. But who will initiate a pod? Kubelet. Always hard code your mind. Pod can be instantiated by kubelet. But guys, I am having one question in my mind. Guys, who request a kubelet to instantiate a pod?
Scheduler.
Wonderful. Yes. Remember, the masters have a 4 component. In a simple way, you can call master, but master itself has a multiple component. So scheduler decide to based on the affinity and anti-affinity, kubelet scheduler decide which node to talk to for requesting to create a pod, in short, instantiating a pod. So scheduler schedule the kubelet. Okay, okay, kubelet, please create this many pods of this kind of pods. Okay, and now guys, kubelet do that without any logic applied. Kubelet will do that, worker will do that, and then once it is done, the state of the work will be sent to the master again, to API server. And guys, this tool which is running in the each node, I repeat, this tool which is running in the each node, and because of that, this is the part of the cluster. If it is not running, it's not a part of the cluster. Same time it has to run, and the certificate has to be received by the API server. On that, it exposed on the port number 10255. So kubelet can be reachable on the 10255. So at least one port, at least you got to know, that has to be open within a cluster. Okay, 10255. So guys, did you understand what is a kubelet now? All of you?
So
Yes.
will Kubelet every time initiates the instantiate the pods or something? For example, if it is out of the memory or something, like how it is going to be identified, that scenario?
That's not a problem with the kubelet. Kubelet is a minion. Remember, I am your slave. I will not think of whether I have a memory or no memory or this or that. Master should think before assigning it to me. I will try my best to serve your request. Who will decide whether you should be given a task or not?
So in that case, my question was like when a kubelet registers a node, right, with a cluster, it means that it says I'm available for the work and everything, right? So
Everything.
again,
Remember here,
why need to instantiate the pods? That was the question here. Sorry.
sorry, I just misunderstood the question. Can you reword this question once again?
So what I told is like already the kubelet, right, when it registers with the cluster, right? So it means that it got the certificate and it is ready for the serving, right? So again, why it
Correct,
really
yes.
need to instantiate for the pods?
Guys, what is a pod? First of all, pod contains, as per the discussions so far, pod contains your container. Remember why we are learning Kubernetes? We want to orchestrate the container at the multiple node, right? So we want to run the containers in the multiple node.
Start the container.
Yeah. So we want to have a containers in the multiple node. That's our main overall objective. So you say kubelet is registered as a minion, as a worker for the master. But why? What is the objective? To hold the work. Work means container. That's my work, to run the containers in the multi-node cluster, right?
Yes.
Are you getting up? Else, why
Yes,
we need
got it.
a kubelet and all? We don't need a kubelet and all. Someone, see, remember, I told you Docker manages the container, but in one host. But who will manage the container in the multiple host? So master manages that. But master manages with the help of what? In each node, there should be some representatives, right? So kubelet is
Agent.
agent. Kubelet is an agent. For example, see, we are India as a country, and head of this country is our prime minister. But whether the prime minister can talk to each and everyone directly? No. Prime minister has representatives every part of the country, every state, every districts, and through that they control entire country, right? So something like that. In the cluster, you have thousands of machines, but master cannot manage that like that. So there should be some local representatives in the each machines. Kubelet is a local representative. Kubelet is an agent which is running in the each machine, each VM, each physical machines, which basically coordinate with the API server for rest of the work. Are you getting my points?
So Rajesh, one more question. Maybe you'll cover later, but let me ask. So you said that the minion looks for master. It chooses its master now, and you also mentioned about anti-affinity. where
Right,
if
right.
it's, I mean, an affinity, if it's biased, then maybe some of the nodes will not get picked up. So will
Anti-affinity
node
and
have the,
just sorry for interrupting you.
yeah,
Anti-affinity and affinity is the part of scheduler, not a kubelet. Kubelet is
yeah,
a
yeah.
simple, yeah.
Yeah, so
So
my question was that if the master doesn't look towards one node to be picked up, then will node, in case of multi-master, node will have the provision to choose another master because it's not picked up by the master for a while?
no, that
Or
will not happen ever. That will not happen ever. Even though if you have a multi-master, probably you have misunderstood the concept of the multi-master. Multi-master itself is like a backup. If one is not available, second will act, and
okay, it's
you will
like a
have a same database. Same database. The memory is the
primary,
same.
secondary kind of thing. Okay, okay.
Same database. Remember, etcd is a distributed. I don't know how many of you have worked with a distributed computing of clustering of the database itself, sharding, replicas concept and all. So I don't want to get into that, but yeah, it's there.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, guys, any other questions here on the kubelet front? Okay, so guys, here this is the first component and most important component of each node, each worker node. Okay, now second component which you know very well, I don't have to tell you. Remember, pod is instantiated by kubelet based on the request from the scheduler. Scheduler get the request from API server. API server decide based on the what you have in the cluster stored and what is reported by controller manager. But who's managing the container? Who's the container management tool, guys?
It can be anything, Docker or any other such software.
Yeah, so guys, here
Super.
in each node, remember, kubelet instantiate a pod, but kubelet can have no idea about the container. So kubelet's request container engine to create a container inside a pod. What is a pod? I don't know, but I know one thing for sure is kubelet can instantiate a pod, and pod has a container, and container has a container engine, and container engine are multiple nowadays. Docker is one of these which you have learned very well. Each and every functionality of the Docker I have covered, so I don't think so I should talk about more on this. But here the benefit of Kubernetes is to have a container engine which can be Docker, Rocket, or directly containerd or CRI, or many container engines coming in, evolving right now. Many. So most popular is Docker, which you know by now. Okay. Now third component. Before third component, do you remember, guys, the problem, networking problem? All of you? Do you remember the networking problem with the
Yeah,
Docker?
Yes.
the
Yes.
containers not
Multiple
talking to each other.
nodes.
So container cannot be accessible
From
outside
outside.
of the host, yeah, and because of the load balancing used to not happen. And I told you Kubernetes has that solution. So guys, what is happening? The Kubernetes networking requirement, yeah. So here you have to forget some of the things. Remember, I have covered the networking with the container. So now you know that. I forgot actually. Which are the networking driver we had? Anyone remember that? I forgot that. Anyone? Networking driver?
NAT bridge.
No,
Null.
not NAT. Bridge and
Host.
and
Host.
and
Null.
null.
Not.
Okay. Now I would like you to think. I would like to request you all to just think. Think simple way. See, container networks can be from the bridge. Multiple container can talk to the same bridge. One statement. Think simple. Listen to me carefully. Container can have a network host. Multiple container can attach to the host network. Yes. So guys, what is happening here is, I don't know what is pod, but I know that one thing for sure, and that is pod is instantiated by Cubelet. Pod you can find in the worker. In the one worker, you can find the multiple pod. In the one pod, you may have multiple container. But you know, one thing I would like to add here is, in the world of Kubernetes, I repeat, in the world of Kubernetes, container do not get network. Yes. So the question is, how can you access the container? So guys, what happens? There is a one network. Hear me out very clearly, guys. I have not written, but please hear me out very clearly. In the world of Kubernetes, one network namespace get attached to pod. Yes, one network get attached to the pod, and pod have a multiple container. So what happens? Each container of that pod uses the same IP address. This is a limited information. Let's have it only till now. We will discuss little bit later a networking formation with the Kubernetes little bit later. Not want to confuse you. So here for now, you need to remember pod get networks. Remember, pod get networks, and all the containers within that pod share the same network. Is that simple and flat statement is understood by everyone or not? Please tell me. Guys, did you understand that? Here in the Kubernetes world, pod get networks, and all the containers of that particular pod uses the same network. Similar concept. Similar, we had a Docker also. Multiple container you can use the share host networking. Same way, host networking you have one networking, but container are using that networking. So same way. Are you understanding it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So guys, if you have understood those correlations, then please read that. Kubernetes has a challenge. Container had a challenge. The container were not able to access from outside through the load balancer on the same port. So what Kubernetes stated? Kubernetes said, listen, develop a driver, develop a policies. Remember driver, I talked about it, little bit of it, not in detail. Kubernetes says, develop a driver which should help all pods should be communicated with each other on the all the nodes. Mind it here. What is this? Here in the Docker world, containers cannot talk to the other containers with the other host, but here it can talk to. So the requirement for the Kubernetes is to apply the certain policies, certain drivers, certain networking software. Using that, all pods can communicate with each other on all nodes. See here, that means the IP address of the pod is unique to the cluster. Mind it here, it's not getting duplicated. Are you understanding it or not? First block, all of you guys. Hello.
Yes. Yes.
To solve the load balancing problem, solve the container limitation problem with the networking, they said, Listen, develop a driver where all pod can communicate with each other on all the nodes, and all nodes also can communicate.
To watch our complete session, enroll for our premium membership. Click onto the join button and enroll yourself with the best suited option.
Communicate with each other on all the pods. See here. So that means, think simple. If you have 20 nodes in your cluster, each node can talk to each pod on any node, and each pod can talk to any other pod on any nodes. Very simple. And without a natting. Natting is not allowed. Okay, no NAT, no network address translation. So the question is, who will do that? Who will do this work? That is where, guys, third component which is getting introduced by Kubernetes is QProxy. Proxy. Do you know the proxy, sir? Guys, all of you, do you know the proxy concept of the proxy? Again, those who are not comfortable with this, please read about networking proxies and all concept. You will understand that. Guys, this is the third component in the running in the each worker. The name of this component, we call it Kubernetes proxy, QProxy. What exactly is doing it? Guys, this is your Kubernetes networking service. What exactly is doing here? So basically, QProxy assign the IP address. Mind it here. QProxy assign the IP address to the pod, and the IP address to the pod which is accessible. All pods can communicate with each other on all the nodes. All nodes can communicate with all the ports without a NAT because of QProxy. And all containers in a pod share the single IP address, and because of this only, because of QProxy only, load balancing of the pods can happen. So that problem is also solved, guys, because of QProxy. Did you understand that the problem with the container Docker is solved by QProxy in the Kubernetes? Now, do you remember that, guys? All of you?
And
Guys?
within the pod, the containers will be accessed through a port or something, because now the pod will
No,
be
localhost,
having one
localhost,
IP.
localhost,
Okay.
localhost.
Same
Remember,
IP
just like this,
address.
I'll tell you. No IP, localhost. Just like that, I'll tell you here. In your laptop, you run Apache and Tomcat in same laptop. So do you use the IP address? No. Use the localhost 80, localhost 8080. Simple. Same way. So you have two containers, you want to talk to each other within a country. I'll talk about this, those stuff. But yes, just because you have asked me, localhost. Simple. So all this done by QProxy. QProxy is supported by networking driver, and how many networking driver which is satisfy the Kubernetes networking requirement is more than 15. VivNet, Calico, Flannel, and many things are there. I don't remember all of this. Okay. So guys, this is the third component of the worker. So guys, in the worker, we have a kubelet, which is a main Kubernetes agent. In the worker, we have a container engine, which is a Docker, can be anything else also. We have a networking services, which is QProxy. And in a nutshell, how the communications happen. Look at this across the cluster, across the master. In between the master, I have already discussed. In between the node, I have already discussed. Now see the between the node and master. Kubelet keep bugging API server. Why? You know that. QProxy also talk to the API server for the allocation of the IP address. So it should be unique in the cluster. Okay. So guys, this is your Kubernetes cluster. So in a short, Kubelet, which monitor the API server for changes, responsible for the pod lifecycle. Pod lifecycle means instantiate a pod, run the pod, destroy the pod and all. And again, Kubelet report node and about the pod state, and some of the proofs also it runs, some checks. Proxy, you know that It's network proxy IP tables. If you don't know the proxy and IP table concept, please read it. You will understand more in line with it. QProxy implement the services. Now, what is the services here? I'll discuss little later. Routing traffic to the pod. QProxy basically helps you to route the traffic to the pod and helps you to load balancing also. Container runtime, I think we spend 2.5 days, so I'm not going to spend more time on it. So this is the worker. We do have a many other component, guys, DNS, ingress, dashboard and all that is out of this discussion right now. So guys, we discussed about master. We discussed about worker. The now last discussion which we have is workstation. Your laptop should be having something, right? One of the utility, remember, anyone remember that what was the name of the utility in the workstation? Anyone?
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.